everybody. This is Jessica Lynn of Jessica Lynn Original. Oh, I already gave away her website right away. My bad. Okay. So, welcome. Today we are pre-recorded, but it doesn't mean you can't watch us on replay. We are glad to have you here. Little different than the normal live show. My guest was only able to be here during the afternoon, which is not a problem, but I cannot wait for you to meet her. We already talked a little bit, and we kind of talked about, how things are going during everything that's going on right now. We talked already about some stamp stuff, how different companies run, and I know you guys are going to love her. I cannot wait to show you all of her cards, everything she creates. She even went and found us one of the first cards that she ever made. Because we're going to talk about her evolution. We're going to talk about everything that she does with design teams, and she's in quite a few of them. So you guys have probably seen her stuff around social media. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. So let me go ahead and just add her in. Oh, here we go. There we are. Yay, Kathy, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so glad to have you here, and this is going to be fun. I'm excited about today's show. I'm going to show some of your work as well, so it'll be a lot of fun. Okay. So, yeah. Well, first off, I found you on Instagram. I tell everybody this every week. I kid you not. I find everybody on Instagram. So if you want to get found, go there because it's probably where I'm going to find you. Or just get, comfortable with sharing your work. So Kathy, can you tell me a little bit about what kind of got you started in card making? Like, how did you find this community?
A very long time ago, it was over about 20 years ago, I actually went to a Stampin' Up! Demonstration. And I know there's a lot of people that, my age, that's what they did. And within 6 months, I was a demonstrator. I was totally hooked on stamping. And I was a demonstrator for a really long time, even did a hobby demo. But I taught classes and really, really learned a lot about trying a stamp set with different things. Learned how to fussy cut really well because there weren't
nice
guys then.
Right.
I still love to fussy cut, actually. And then about 10 years ago, I don't know what happened. I think a friend of mine had told me about another company, and I was in such a bubble. I hadn't really seen it. And then, oh my gosh, these clear stamps and other stamp companies that I hadn't heard of before were out there. And it rejuvenated me. And I just started, buying all these different things and trying different things and, getting on Pinterest and, Facebook and things like that. I wasn't real big on Instagram at the time. I don't even know if there was Instagram back then.
I'm not sure. That's now I'm going to have to Google that. I don't know. When did Instagram start?
I don't know. I know I was late to the party, which isn't surprising, but just, it was just like an evolution. And then I found card challenges, and I loved challenges. I still try to play as much as I can, because it really does challenge me to say, here's a theme, here's a color combo, here's a layout, make something. And I still enjoy doing that. I've learned a lot from those. And I think I also got some exposure unbeknownst to me for those, because then I started getting people asking, would you want to guest design for us? Or would you want to be, on a DT on our challenge team? And I've been on a lot of teams. And a lot of them were challenge teams, which I really, really enjoyed. So
I've noticed the challenges are starting to come back again. Like, they went through a period where there were a lot of the challenge, like specific blogs that would just focus on challenges, or a weekly or a monthly. And I've noticed in the last, maybe since all of this, beginning of 2020, maybe even a little bit at the end of last year, I've seen them making kind of a resurface again.
Yeah, they, like I said, I share that with people. I'm like, if you want to really learn and you want to stretch yourself a little bit, go play some challenges. Hey, you might even win something. But that's, I always did it really just for me, because I enjoyed it, and I like sharing. It's like everybody, they get on their phone and go, oh, look what I made this week or whatever. And I like seeing what people do, and I like sharing it too. So that's kind of like been my evolution. My very first team I was on was called Friday Mashup. It's not around anymore.
I was like, oh my goodness. No, I think I remembered. Gosh, that was a little bit ago.
Yeah, it was a challenge team. And then my first design team was with Paper Sweeties. Deb's still around. She makes adorable
Mm-hmm.
stamps. And that was the first team I was on.
I looked up Instagram, October 6th, 2010.
Wow. So 10 years ago.
So I'm
That's
sure
amazing.
in next month there will be a big Instagram 10-year something. I don't know. That seems
Maybe you
crazy,
can
even
start
just
that.
right, the 10th year anniversary of Instagram. And
Yeah.
then TikTok will be like, no, no. The
Oh,
challenges are fun though. I was also I do what was the name of that website? Split Coast Stampers. That was one
yeah.
that I did a lot, and they're still up and running.
Yep, they
I
are.
love Split Coast. I used to do a lot of card swaps, and that's
Oh,
how I
yeah.
kind of learned. Although the trick to card swaps is sign up for at least 2 or 3 because otherwise you're spending a fortune in postage.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I didn't learn that at first, but I learned it pretty quickly. But yeah, no, I love doing all that, and I think it's a great way for people to start. So I guess before we show your blog and what you kind of got going now, you said you found one of your older cards from when you first started. Do you want to
I
share that with
did.
us?
This was one of the first. I don't know if you can
What? No,
see
that's
it.
one of your first ones. That's
That.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's this was Stampin' Up,
Mm-hmm.
and it is all fussy cut, pretty much.
There's a lot of fussy cutting there. And that
It
was
was a
pre.
lot of
So
fussy
for all
cut.
for those that's pre Brother Scan and Cut, pre Cricut, like you're sitting there with tiny little scissors. That was carpal
Yeah.
tunnel encouraging there. That's what that was. It's beautiful
You
though.
know what? I still like fussy cutting. I find it relaxing. If I think I can fussy cut something, I sometimes don't get the dies
Hmm.
because I'd like to buy more stamps. But the die cutting is so much better than it
I
used
bought
to be.
I bought a Brother Scan and Cut, oh gosh, a while ago. And for the first year and a half I had it, it sat there because I was so intimidated by it. And it would stare at me like, I know what I'm doing. I would help you. I see what you're doing and it's not looking good. And I finally decided it was time to watch some videos and learn. And that's kind of how I learned how to use that machine. And I think the Cricut is kind of easier to use because the Brother Scan and Cut, you have to be more creative, resourceful to make it do some of the things that the Cricut just automatically does.
Uh-huh.
But I do like the Brother Scan and Cut too. But you're right, die cuts, plop them on, good to go. Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely. Yep. I love those.
Well, let's share some of your websites so people can go and find you. So down below, I have the link so you can just click on them. But we have her Instagram, so you can go and check her out at Instagram. And that's how I found you. And you can see all of your work out there. It's a quick way to kind of get to know somebody. Do you ever do any Instagram lives?
I have not. I will admit it
Mm-hmm.
terribly so that I am not technically inclined.
You're
Um,
doing great.
thank you. So I haven't really done any lives or anything like that. I work for a small independently owned scrapbook store. Actually, it's a craft store.
Okay.
And the owner wanted to change everything over to more stamping.
Mm-hmm.
And so after I had lost a job, she had taken me on, which I was so grateful for. And it's called Legacy Paper Arts in Powell, Ohio. I'll give her a little plug.
Oh,
And
yay!
yay! And so we've included so many new products and things like that. So I've been doing some videos for that store,
Okay.
just promoting some of the products and things we have. So that's actually as far as I've gotten as far as doing like a video or anything live. So
You're doing great. And you know what? That's the fun of this is that, they're not all going to be perfect, but you keep growing and learning, just like card making. You know what I mean? The first card,
oh
I think your first card was great, though. I'll be honest. It
oh
was,
thanks.
I have seen all levels of first cards. And, the best part about that is that's where just all of us start. But I have so many friends that are like, oh, my cards are not as good as this person or that person. And I don't like it when people compare because everybody's on our own path. and what I might, as an artist, come up with these 10 designs. I've talked about it before. I have my own design ideas of where I think you guys are going to go. And all of a sudden, all the cards come back, and I'm like, not a single one of the ones I thought was going to happen happened, because
Yeah.
everybody comes up with their own design and idea of how to use things. So,
And that's the
yeah.
beauty of even being on design teams. I learned
Mm-hmm.
so much from the other team members, because it is amazing how, you could take one stamp set and say, okay, go ahead and do it. We're doing a release. And everyone comes up with a different way, a different color
Mm-hmm.
scheme, a different idea. And it's just like, whoa, I love that creativity. It
inspires me too.
It does. It's very inspiring.
So I'm just tossing up all your stuff here, so we've got it. Definitely go and check out her blog. Last week, Tina kind of talked about how she uses her blog is kind of her scrapbook of her history. And I thought, what a cool idea. I've never thought about it that way. But let's go out, and I'm just going to share I'm just share it real quick. So you and I are going to go a little small on the right-hand side, but I'm going to go ahead and just share your blog real quick, because I just want to show people that, when they click on the link, they're going to the right place first. But I just want to show them a little bit of your work. Cute picture. But look at this beautiful work. I love this. These are little tags, right?
Yeah,
the
that's,
little ghost
the
and the
confetti is sneak peeking today. And so that's
today.
spectacular. Today's the first day of release. It's active on the 8th, but the next few days will be sneak peeking a few things. So this is spectacular, and a couple of new guys.
So this is brand new. So if anybody didn't see these on your blog yet, now they're seeing them today. So that's fun. And you're going to post stuff all week. So I love that. Here she's got a little sneak peek to her Instagram. You can go ahead and follow her. And look, yes, I do already follow her.
Yay.
Yay. Beautiful work. I love my favorite with the die cuts. I love the little stitch line. Every time I see it, it always just maybe it's because I went to college and I sew. Went to college for costume design, so I sew. So every time I see the little stitch line, it's always like, oh, that looks so cool that it's on paper. Yeah, beautiful work. I love it. So
thank you.
We're looking. I love the. I can draw it for you, but I'm learning all of this. This is where I'm hoping to evolve to. This where you do a whole scene and a set. That's a lot of work. Love that. Even like little pumpkin farm.
I love the slimline craze right now. You can do so much more with a big card.
Love these. Gorgeous. Oh, Christmas already? I guess it already is September. Time to start thinking there. Oh, it's like Coco, Day of the Dead.
It is. That's Pink and Maine. That's another team that I'm on, and she did a little Day of the Dead.
It's so cute. My daughter loves Coco, so as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, so cute. So I'm seeing a lot of names. So can you tell me a little bit about how many design teams are you currently part of?
So I'm actually on 5 design teams.
Just 5.
Well, one is the coffee loving card makers. So, but
one of my favorites.
Yeah, we've done things with you. We have done lots of collaborations. We did one with Trinity Stamps, which was really fun. I mean, we truly collaborated our ideas with them. And one of the sets actually has all of our names on it as collaborators.
Aww,
so that
I love
was very
that.
Cool. Yeah.
I love I was gonna say I love the coffee hops. They're my favorites. Every year she does 2 of them, and love them. They're just too much fun. They're huge. So if you guys don't know what that is, I'll put a link down below when the video airs today. But it's this huge amount of people, and typically, I think the last time, what did she say? There were like 1,800 cards.
Something like that. Yeah,
it was a lot. And it's all different people.
Like 200.
I remember. I think it was part of one of the first ones. And we were like, yes, 200. It's amazing. Do you remember what's her schedule on it? Because I know it changed a little bit. Do you know what the schedule is for that?
I think that the one she combined them. There used to be 4, and now there's 2. There's one was like in May, maybe April, May, and the next one will be like September, October, or October, November, probably. before Christmas. But yeah, I have so many coffee and tea and cocoa sets, but I love that. I love it.
It's
And
awesome.
yeah, Amy is such an influencer. I think half of the company started making coffee sets and tea sets because of her hop. I swear.
I can tell you that Brentwood never picked up a cup of coffee until he was invited to be part of the hops as well.
See
But
that?
now we've been, I mean, on my website, I think, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you what the first year was, but I think we're on 14 or 15 that we've done. And we
Wow.
offer a free digital stamp every time. And so we've had Brentwood laying in coffee beans, on coffee, drinking coffee on a pumpkin. He's pretty much done it all now that we've been part of that. Just because it's such a fun event and I love seeing what everybody makes. So why would I not be part of that, you know?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
they're awesome. They're awesome events. Anyway, I
Yeah.
digress.
I interrupted you. So sorry about that. So,
No,
okay. So all
no,
your design
no, you're
teams, what do
fine.
you got?
I'm on Reverse Confetti and Pink and Main, Divinity Designs, and Cat Scrappiness, and then the Coffee Lovers. So keeps
I
me busy.
know Cat Scrappiness quite well. She is a good friend as well. So
Oh, good.
yeah, she's a very when last year, well, I think it was last year, the year before, when I actually drew her Saint Bernard. So I made a video where I actually drew her Saint Bernard and then I colored it all in beautiful for her as a remembrance of her pup. So
Oh, how
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah, she's
she's a good
really
friend.
amazing things. I've enjoyed working with her products. It's been a lot of fun.
So you've got 5 design teams. Now let's tell everybody, how many guest design spots have you done?
You'd have to, I don't even know. I have it on my blog. There's a page there that, says something about design teams that I keep track of it. Your guess was correct. It is sort of like a journal or a scrapbook, a digital scrapbook. Sometimes I have to go back and look like, when did I start doing this and all that, but they're on there.
Oh, yes, they are. Here we go. Look at this. We've got current. And here's all of our past. There's a whole lot of them. Guest design invitations. Wait, I'm still scrolling. Still scrolling. Still scrolling. So if you have not seen her work before, I bet you actually have, but maybe just didn't even know it. So for your design teams, do you have, obviously you've got the one that's getting ready to launch this weekend. Do you have any
Mhm.
other projects that are launching over the next couple of weeks that you could give a little sneak peek of what's coming without telling us too much? Because I don't want to
Let's
ruin the surprise.
see. I'm trying to think. So Divinity Designs, they just released the September 1st, but there's going to be on the 15th, there's going to be a mini release with some other things.
15th, guys, mark your.
So
But this
that's
is
always fun.
of 2020, just so people know, in case they watch it back later and they're like, yes, and it's like the next year.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
September 15th, 2020. And then Pink and Main, her release is going to be October 1st, but in a few weeks we'll start doing some sneak peeks. It's uber cute, if uber is still a cool word to use, I don't know. But it's very, very cute. So I'm excited to start playing with some of those. And she came out with some new things. You've probably seen her ergonomic brush. Michelle is her name. And now she came out with a scrubber and a cleaner she collaborated with Brutus Monroe. So that's also been so fun, is to see all these companies, collaborating with each other. So that's been fun to be part of.
It's what I love about small business is that we're not so big that we can't still work together. You know what I mean? And why not? Just because I draw one style, somebody else draws another one. I loved seeing them kind of come together. And so I have a lot of friends who have made cards that try to mix stuff on purpose just to kind of see what you can come up with, because we are all very similar. So, what are your favorite tools to use? Are you a Copic? Are you a pencil? What are your favorite tools?
I think behind me you can see I love Copics. I'm
You
not.
got lots. Is that
Um,
all paper behind you too?
there's
Is that
paper
all
on one
paper on that
side.
shelf?
I'm very eclectic, so don't mind my mess. And this is actually clean.
Mess. That we know. We're all card maker. We're all crafty people. Trust me. If we went upstairs to my office, my suite, or my craft, or whatever we're gonna call it, if we went up there right now, I literally have sewing fabric everywhere. I've got, I think that's just the creative mind in work.
Yeah, I've got to see things. So,
Mhm.
and I'm very eclectic. I like, oh, I like this or I like that. Doesn't mean that it matches. No, I do love Copics. The Misty or a stamping platform
Mhm.
has been invaluable. I really do love that. I probably use it every time. And I still crank. So my Sizzix machine is, I did upgrade to a plus. So it's got a wider base, but I still crank. Um, there's been just so many little things that have come into the market that just make, my life so much easier. Art glitter glue. I never used glue before, and I got turned on to that a few years ago, and now I use it for everything. Um,
I started with using glue because I thought, oh, that's what you're supposed to do, and then mine ended up all
yeah,
messy, and it was just I used old school glue, like when you were in,
right.
elementary school, and then I was like, oh, that my cards don't look like everybody else's, and then I found out then you use the little tape gun, and I bought entirely. People have heard the story, but I have bought entirely too many. When I was working for my boss, who actually encouraged me to start my own company because I had submitted my art to another company to produce, and they were like, "That's cute. No, we have our own artists. Thank you anyway." And
Oh,
she said, "You're done. You're not going to keep trying. Your stuff is cute." And so I ended up going, "Okay, well, I don't know how to do this." And so she encouraged me and was really kind of coaching me to kind of go try. Don't be afraid. Let's do this. And she was like, well, if you need some of the Tombow glue, she could get me a resource. And I think I paid like nothing for it. And so I said, well, how many can you buy me? And she's like, well, what do you want? And I want to say that I bought a couple hundred of them. Like I had
oh
a
my
month
gosh.
because I didn't know. 15 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, still to this day, 15 years later, I still have that box, and I think I have 3/4 of it still full. So I will
Oh my
never
gosh.
need glue again. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm using old school glue, and I know I'm not using, what everybody else is, but I kind of have to work my way through that stock. But the price, I couldn't, I mean, I want to say I paid, God, I think it was like less than $1, 50 cents maybe a thing, because she just got some
Wow.
deal that if she ordered such a high quantity, and I was like, okay, I'm game if that's something you think I need. And she's like, well, you'll need to be able to hold your stuff together. So yes. So, but I still give her 100% credit for, encouraging me to even start and, you know,
Absolutely. That's
yeah,
awesome. Well, now I know where
yeah,
to go when I need glue.
seriously. It's not even funny. It's like, and my kids are like, what is all that? I'm like, it's glue, put it back. Just, oh, glue, we can, no, just put it back. So it's fun.
Oh,
So
I've dabbled in mixed media, not a whole lot, but I love my distress oxides. They're my
I'm learning
favorite.
to love them. I'm learning to
Yeah,
love them. The
so
girls on
much.
here, the girls on here inspired me and said, just try. And I went, okay. Bought 4 of them. Now I have like 15 of them upstairs. And I'm like, sorry, husband. So, but they're
Yeah,
fun. How long
they
do they last? Do they last for a long time?
the oxide
Hmm.
pads. I think I've had to re-ink one of them, and I use them constantly.
Okay.
So they stay juicy for a really long time. Yep.
Good. That's good to hear because I bought so many of them, but I've been keeping their lids because their lids don't sit too tight. And so I was worried. So I got these little rubber band things to kind of hold them tighter because I was afraid that they would dry out because I just bought
Well,
them
they
all. And
I will say I'll do plug for Ranger too. There is a storage box
mhm.
and that you can get for those, and it's pretty reasonable. And when you stick your pad in there, it actually is tight enough to keep the lid on.
Oh,
So that might be something you might want to look into.
there you go. Well, and I'll be honest. I mean, a lot of people are like, what companies can we talk about on the show? And as far as I'm concerned, every single company is game. The goal of behind the card is to, maybe there was somebody else who had the same question I had and said, I bought all these oxide inks and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid they're all going to whatever. And then boom, there comes the suggestion, so I love hearing that. I love hearing that kind of stuff because that's, going to get us all moving forward. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So when
Well,
you
it all
create,
works
oh,
together.
go ahead.
No, I said it all works together.
It does. It really does, because of my stamp and then you need a pretty background and you've got your, fussy cutting it out, or maybe your brother ScanNCut or your Cricut machine, whatever your favorite is. One of the things I want to try in a Cricut machine that I haven't yet is I want to try to do stickers. Because I heard there's a way that you can run it through where it'll only cut the sticker layer of the paper, but not all the way through. So that's on my new list. That's on my new list to try. So
Sounds good.
I literally every week I have another list. I'm like, oh, look at all this cool stuff I want. I'm like, okay, baby steps. So when you design cards, what inspires you? Is it the stamp set? I know that you have an amazing Pinterest list. So is it your Pinterest list that you go off of? Are you inspired by a season? What kind of gets, your creative juices flowing when it comes to card making?
All of the above.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll get a stamp and I'm like, I know exactly what I want to do with it, or I want to play with it. Other times I could be totally stumped. And so I look through Pinterest. It may be a seasonal thing, or it may just be, I know I want to use this with a different background, but I don't know what to do with it. For a long time, making skies was really big, like the galaxy skies and whatnot. But
where you do the little, is that where you do the like paint on there? Are you talking about those kind, or?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You use different colors, and I wanted to learn how to make those and things like that. But people have made, I'm going to use skies as an example. I always thought you made a blue sky, and green grass, and that was it. But people are doing like pinks and purples and, all different kinds of stuff. So anyway, I'll just say, okay, I know I want to do something. I'll look for backgrounds. And I literally will just scan through. I'll, copy, and I put them into like a Word doc so I can really look at them. Sometimes I'll just look at sketches, because sometimes a sketch actually those I think is from my old, challenges days,
right?
That actually I'll look at that and go, oh, I've got a stamp that would look really good with that. So I really get it from all over, and truly now there's so many places to be inspired by. You said Instagram. You could just cruise through there and go, oh my gosh, I never thought to use a leaf like that, or I never thought to use a circle like that, or whatever. And sometimes it may just be a very small element of something that I see, and I'll start it. Now, most of the times, I'll be honest, what I thought I was going to do, that's not how it turns out. Because as you're working with something, well, and I think that's the creative process. And I find that when I'm trying to make it be what I have in my head, it never, I get frustrated. So if I just kind of let it go and just move things around and play and, try different colors and whatnot, that it usually comes together a lot easier.
Love that. Yeah, no, I just looked at your Pinterest boards. I was just going to share really quick just so people can see what you have out there. But I love, you've got it all by the different companies that you work with. So I think that's helpful too, because there are times like I've done the coffee, lovers blog hop for so long where I'm like, okay, what new card can I make featuring coffee? Right?
Yeah, I think I have a coffee ideas board in there.
You've got your coffee and tea cards over here. You've got your divinity, you got just images. So there's a lot, and there, I love the fact that you have it all kind of organized. So for someone watching today who really kind of is like, I need some inspiration, my goodness, just head over, go and check out Kathy's board, because she has got, well, I mean, okay, just in card challenges, you have 527 pins.
Do I really?
So, yeah. So for somebody who, is like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, just go pick one of these folders, And literally, if you click on the folder, look, she just has all these different things pinned. Are these all cards you've made? Oh yeah, they are.
A lot of them are. I mean, I will, and some
Cute.
of the other, like the coffee lovers and things like that, I will definitely pick up others that I see to save. Um,
to inspire you for the next time. Oh, here, cards I like.
Absolutely. Cards I like, ideas I like, things like that.
I love this, but that's a great way for somebody who's new and says, I don't even know where to start. I'll be honest, like trying to make your own version of someone's card. I love seeing that because it's not that you know, there's only so many layouts, right? But being able to go in and be inspired by different ideas. Look at that. You got everything out here. Chip colors.
Yeah, I was
You are
into doing
ready.
colors.
Wow, you've got this very organized. I'm still figuring. I change my Pinterest, I think, like weekly because I can't figure out how the best way to store it is. I love it. This is so great. Sorry, I didn't. I see. I got sucked into the Pinterest right there. I was like, I'm just gonna start looking. We're supposed to be talking. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's what happens. I get on there and it's like an hour later, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Seriously, that's what happens to me when I go. All of a sudden, Instagram. I'll start going. Okay, I'm gonna go see who I can invite to add to my guest list to see who might want to make cards with me. Next thing I know, 45 minutes, my kids are like, "Hey, mom, remember we were going to go outside?" Oh yeah, let's go. I'm sorry. Because you get so just into it, and I love that your boards are so organized. So, if nothing else, go check out, her blog, go and sign up and take a look and follow her on Pinterest. Cause obviously you're still actively pinning, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So great way to get people started. So.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So question for you about, so when you go through and you do make your cards, do you make cards if people want to order that? And I ask every time because somebody always emails me after every show, like, I love what she does. I want to get that card. Do you offer like custom cards? Do you give your cards? Who do you give your cards to? What do you do with them? Do you have a monstrous pile back there somewhere in your craft space behind you? What do you do with your cards?
I used to sell them, and I haven't really done that in a pretty long time. Honestly, I don't have the time, to do, because I used to do special orders and things like that. There's a couple of friends that still have asked me for cards, and I'll send it to them or whatever. But, I've tried to, a lot of the cards, sometimes I will need to adjust if I wanted to give them to someone, because with the design teams, it may be a very specific kind of phrase that is being used because that's what's in the stamp set, but it doesn't really apply to a whole lot of people. So I do keep a lot of those. I do keep my favorites. I hate to say that, but I really do keep.
I have a couple of mine too.
Ones that maybe took a really long time to make or something that I really like or have a meaning for me. I'll keep. But, I love those card drives that people have, cards for kindness. And there's a Caring Hearts one.
Yeah.
I generally do give, my cards away like that to people,
I love
to those
that.
organizations. They used to have, I don't know, for many years, there was the Faith Mission here in town wanted birthday cards for their people that come in. And so I thought that was a great thing to give, birthday cards to, because, a lot of homeless people don't get to celebrate their birthday. So just, different organizations, things like that. I have a long list of my friends who are so good at sending cards. And I'm really not very good at sending them. I admit that, but I have a long list, and that's on my next to-do list. I even got stamps, is I want to send a little note off to a lot of people. So, and my family, of course, I try to send them cards as much as possible.
My sister is much better than me. Yeah, I'm not so good at it. I forget.
Yeah, I'm grateful that Facebook now tells you, when somebody's birthday is. At least I can send them a little note. But I have to admit that every year it's one of my things I keep saying I'm going to get better at.
Me too. Me too.
Send the cards.
Either that, or I think what I might do is, I thought about that too, because I am not, my sister, amazing. She will send you a card before the day. She has it marked so it gets there, even when the post office is delayed. I don't know what kind of magic she works, but they're always there. They have all this stuff in them that when you open the card, everything falls out and it's always a big mess in the living room. And I'm horrible at it. So I told my husband, because it has been on my list too. And um, I just I do a lot of things, so it's so hard sometimes for me to remember everything. And I had an idea where maybe I was gonna I put all the addresses together. I haven't even printed it out, but my goal was to go through and take like some address labels, like the Avery ones, and then put all the addresses on there with a date off on the far right hand side. So then I
That's a
knew,
great idea.
that they were there. And so it's my plan. I bought the Avery labels, so I'm already there. I made the document, but I just haven't run them all through the printer. So that's on
That's
my
a great
list.
That's a great idea. I mean, my mom was so good at it too. And she had the old address book, written address book, and in the front of the address book were birthdays. And so everything was, right there for her. And I'm like, there's got to be a way I can do that too.
That was the only thing I could think of, just because if I had multiple things I had to find, that's why I was like, I'm going to put the date on the end of the label because I can just snip that little date off and people won't know the difference, and then at least I have the address ready and I can so now when all my family watch this back and they're like, oh, we're on to you, Jessica Lynn. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. You would think with all this time home and time whatever, that I would have more time, but realistically, I feel like I have less time now than I did before.
I think
I feel
people got into other things, you get really busy with projects and whatnot, or which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. Not that the virus thing is good, but that people are utilizing the time that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen my neighbors starting to like redo house stuff that they never did before, that we'd always said, oh, that would be great if and they're doing it. My husband and I, the long-term goal is that, hopefully we'll be able to move to a new house. And so we've started kind of cleaning and downsizing because my girls are not babies anymore. And we're good with that. 2 is enough. When they start to outnumber you, we decided that no. So, because, at least we have 1 each that we can each kind of handle if we need to. But yeah. So it's been kind of interesting. So have you found yourself more inspired to card make during this time or less inspired? Because I've kind of heard a little of both.
I will say, and it was a little bit surprising. I mean, I have to be organized with the teams that I'm on, and what's due when and whatnot. So I'm crafting all the time, but I would say that my mojo had some valleys, and I that surprised me. But I have heard the same thing. Sometimes it's just been really hard to sit down and create something, and I think it's just in the back of your mind, probably your subconscious maybe is, just thinking about everything else going on in the world. But it sometimes it gets a little, I have to go out, I'll say, I'm going to go sit outside for a while. The weather's been beautiful here, or go for a walk or clean or, do something else. Which sounds surprising to me because I was always ready to create. But I agree with that. I think I've had a little bit of I've had to push myself in some cases, but I feel like it's starting to come back. I love fall and I love Christmas and I love the colors, and I'm always inspired by that and the new stamp sets and things coming out. So that definitely has perked me up a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, I went through at least a period of time where, all of this sort of got me like, I'm not sure what I should be doing. I'm not sure what I shouldn't be doing. Maybe I should focus on things. And I feel like my creative kind of flow sort of changed too. So I just figured it was a good question. We were kind of talking, our conversation kind of evolved there. And it's kind of an interesting thing to think about how, we always said, if we had all the time in the world, what would we do? Not that we have, you know what I mean, but in a scheme of our lifetime, right? And it's just kind of an interesting thing that we all kind of were shocked and kind of didn't know what to do when we did have the time. And
Yeah.
not everybody. I mean, my husband was an essential worker, so during this time he worked. I do have a regular full-time job, and I also worked, but I was at least blessed enough to be able to work from home so that I was able to kind of keep the kids at bay and try to work. So when people would say, well, you're working from home, and I'm like, well, I have the kids and I'm trying to work from home. So grain of salt, right? But it's just interesting to hear, different perspectives. And for anybody watching, I would love to hear down below, how did all of this kind of affect how you were kind of handling your creativeness? Did you have a period of time where you went through some quietness? Did all of a sudden it sort of come back when fall came back? So if you want to comment down below, Kathy and I would love to read that back and kind of just hear, how you guys were affected by this. And it's an interesting thought. It is definitely, something that, hopefully we all won't have to experience again in our lifetime. Hopefully things will start to move forward, but it is an interesting thought. So you said, Kathy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nope. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Obviously both of us like to talk. No. So you said that fall really inspires you. So fall, are you, I know you're part of the Coffee Lovers Blog Hop and that whole team. And I will put their link down below too, because I know another one's coming up. I know there's a coffee day, which I think is the 29th? 29th. Yes. All right. Because I know now I can't release too much because it hasn't all officially been kind of worked out and everything else, but I know that's coming. So what is it about fall that sort of gets you back into all of your creative spirits?
I love the colors.
Well, you're in Ohio, so Ohio gets a lot of beautiful.
Yeah, we do. I love
pretty.
The colors. I love the little icons that represent fall. I love, the leaves. There's so much you can do. Even with I don't do a lot of mixed media, but even with mixed media or embossing, and that gets you out of just doing things one way, right? So it's not just Copic coloring or using pencils or whatever. I do tend to do more embossing for the holidays, the upcoming holidays, and playing around a little bit more with backgrounds and different types of medium. And I think sometimes just trying something different can get you going in another direction and gets you out of a comfort zone. I try to do that every once in a while. I remember hearing, I was at some show and Tim Holtz was there, who, I just love him. And he said that he schedules time to just play. Like he doesn't have any deadlines. He doesn't have to worry about making anything. He just plays. And I thought, that really makes a lot of sense, to just truly let creativity kind of take its course. So sometimes that's the way I feel with fall and holiday, is that I'm not doing the same thing all the time. I tend to, spread my wings a little bit and try some new stuff.
Do you do other kind of, are you just a card maker, or do you do any other kind of DIY or crafting or sewing or anything like that?
Years ago, I did sew for many years. And I used to do cross stitch. I've heard some people have gotten back into
love cross stitch.
And I do too. Again, I just don't always have the time, but I was never, my daughter's in her 20s and I have 2 scrapbook pages for her. It's awful. I've never been a scrapbooker.
I did all the digital stuff because I couldn't. Otherwise, I ran out of time because I'm like, I'll just put them in pages because I just didn't want to lose them, But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just was not a scrapbooker. I've tried doing journals. That didn't last too long. I really like doing cards. I think it's a little bit of, I say instant satisfaction or immediate gratification, whatever the term is, even though it takes you 2 hours to make one.
Right.
It's not that immediate. But I really do. I kind of like that, condensed art, so to speak.
Well, and in one sitting, you can walk away with something, right. And even though it's a card, I mean, it doesn't mean you still can't frame it. I mean, I have a couple cards that we had one that was featured in a magazine that I framed it right away after I got it back from them, that I'm like, that's too cool. If somebody thought that was cool enough for a magazine, then that's cool enough for me. So I definitely have done some of that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Now, you said you work at a store that is now in the process of converting to more stamps and more paper. Do you do a lot of teaching in what you're doing there?
I've been there for a year and a half, and before all of this stuff happened, I did teach classes. So I would teach card classes, either for techniques, or we did like some fun folds, just a bunch of different things. Getting people to use different tools. I There's so many people who are new, who know absolutely nothing about card making, but they really are excited. So I did some of those, like how to look at balance in a card, when you're designing. And we, excuse me, I gave them like 2 sketches to use, and we built cards using a sketch. So a lot of the things that I did when I first started, I
Mhm.
was able to share that with others. So that was always fun. And then we were doing weekly sort of mini demos in the store. So, maybe it was using oxides, or maybe it was using some different medium, or um, I don't know what. I'm trying to think of all the things that we did. Little gift tags, and just a little something that people could do a little make and take for, which
Nice.
was always very, very fun.
Is
Um,
the store open right now?
it is. I'm
Good.
really grateful to say that we had maybe 2 weeks that I would say we were closed. But the owner, Joyce, had a website that she hadn't really been using.
Hmm.
It was more informational. And so, we were like, let's get product online.
Hmm.
So we opened up her online store basically. And then soon after, we just started taking appointments once we were able to do that. I mean, Ohio was very good, I thought, about methodically opening things up. And so we were able to take appointments. And so some people felt comfortable coming in doing that. I haven't started up classes yet. I'm not quite ready, and I don't think a lot of other people are. But we do have a teacher that has been doing classes with small groups, and that people are loving it. They want to get back, they want to get back crafting together. So,
I've done a couple of that where they would set up like here in Wisconsin, they've done where they've set up like the big spaces, and there were a couple of stores where they would have these rooms with probably 15 or 20 tables, and you could rent a space with another person, and then they would
oh,
do
that's
movies and pizza night, and then you just bring your stuff and craft, and they always had a teacher. So I just, I love hearing that you're still doing some of that, or going to be doing some of that again. And I know you said you're doing some videos. You didn't give me a YouTube. Do you have a YouTube?
Um, the YouTube is really just for the videos that
Mm,
I do
for the
for
store.
Legacy. Yeah, so if there are links, whenever we have a link, we usually provide that. They're really short little videos. Like I just did one on how to use a turnabout in a Misty. Just very, very simple things. We do put them up on our website, on the store. So if people want to go back and look at them, they can. We have a group of our customers who aren't on Facebook or anything, so they are good with going to the website. So we try to accommodate wherever we can. No, I haven't
You,
done the YouTube thing. That
that's
actually
a
is
whole nother monster, I'll
intimidating.
tell you.
Yeah, that really is. That really. And you know what? If I anybody can go see Jennifer McGuire and find out how to do everything. So
Yeah, but you
I
know
think
what?
she
I'll
does a
be
great
really
job.
honest. That's the one thing I love about this community. Even though there is the Jennifer McGuires, there are, the Sandys, there are all of that. I still enjoy watching a variety of people because
That's true.
I love seeing a different take on maybe what they did. Do you know what I mean? And maybe for
That's
your
true.
store, you guys should think about this is not like a business thing, but I'm just saying you should think about doing like an Instagram for them. And then because you're doing these small little how-tos, you could kind of start. I know you said you didn't do the Instagram stories, but those would probably feed in really well to what you're doing because
Hmm.
they're small, 3 to 5 minute, where they could be a bunch of different little clips. And you can actually record the whole video and then upload it so that you're not trying to do it with holding the camera. You know what I mean? Try to do all that at
Yeah.
once. So that might help you guys. I know, oh goodness, one of the girls on my show, I cannot remember which one. Oh, she's going to kick my butt. I cannot remember, but I know she's doing like every Friday, she does a quick, here's a quick tip for this week. So maybe you guys do something like that, or even for you,
That's a
for,
great idea.
people that, especially because you have been in the industry for quite a while, you kind of have seen the products come and go. You've seen things change. Although it's kind of funny how they're all circling around again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, when I first started, we were doing that. Now it's coming back again. But yeah, so that's just an idea. So I don't work for your company, but that's just
No,
my
I
idea for you.
appreciate it. Thank you. I'm always looking for some new ideas. That's a great idea.
Just because maybe that'll help, get a different audience that might, again, there are a lot of people that go on Instagram a lot, and just by, having that out there, maybe they'll see it. So give us a little tour. What do you got going on behind you?
Oh gosh.
Putting you on the spot now.
Back up. So, I don't know if we were talking online or not, but this was my daughter's playroom.
Oh.
And it was her nursery at first, because my mom took care of her, long story, but it was purple. So we had to go with darker colors. So when it was time for her playroom, we made it this really, really bright pink, little girl. It was really fun. Well, when I took it over, when she didn't need it anymore, I left it pink. So it's really, really bright.
Is it pink? It almost looks red a little bit
Yeah,
here on
no,
camera.
I think it's the lighting. It's a very deep, it's almost like a salmon.
Okay.
Like
okay, I can see that now.
It's got pink in it. It's kind of Pepto.
That's all right. Behind me, it looks like I have a green screen, so it's totally good. I thought it would be I love candy apple green. It's my favorite color. And so I told my husband, let's paint our kitchen that color. And now that I'm doing all these Zoom calls from home and like all of these things, I don't typically record downstairs in our kitchen, but the kids were out playing today. So I thought, okay, I'll record down here. But all the people I work with are always like, oh, look at your green screen behind you. What kind of image are you going to put back there? And I'm like, no, that's just my kitchen. That's what color it is.
Oh,
So.
no, I love that. Oh gosh, I don't know if I really want to show you. I could take you on a little tour, but
sure, if you want, it's up to you. If you feel like you want to.
Clean. That's clean.
Look at how organized. My good. No, I'm going to tell you right now. That is so much. I love all your markers are in colored order. You've got little storage down there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I need one of the bulletin board things where I can hang stuff too. I love that.
I used to put my punches on there, but now I've just got, pens and
brushes and stuff.
But yeah, there's all my stamps.
Oh my goodness. And then you turn and it just keeps going. Holy cow.
So those are, I do have some 12 by 12 paper I'm still using. So I just got another cart because I kind of like to move those around. And what's over here? My big mess.
Oh my God.
So
we're crafties. Yeah. We all know it. Wow.
So anyway, that's kind of.
You had like this perfect little image that we saw at first, and then all of a sudden you turn and it was just tons of supplies. Like I love that.
Crazy. I really need to do another D-stash or something. It just gets overwhelming. You become, there's that old adage that's actually stamping and collecting are two different hobbies.
My husband tells me that too. Get rid of. No, for me, so now, like, one of these days I'm going to do a behind the scenes, like, behind the card of Behind Jessica Lynn Original. Because not only do I have all the storage for all my stamps, because I'm a one-woman show, like, I draw it, the whole bit. I have all the storage in my office. And when we moved into this house, they built out this weird, like, cubby into, like, the attic area. And so, the people that lived here before us, I think they put like their kid's bed in there. So the kid had like this weird little cubby in this room. And I was like, what would any person use this for? And obviously many years later, I'm like, it's the perfect place to put all my stamps. And I'm like, it was meant to be because it can stack 3 bins high and 2 bins deep.
Oh,
So I
wow.
can literally just stack everything. And so then I've had to be organized on how we sort them. So when my husband has to pick and pack for you guys when people order, that we can easily find it, because otherwise we're diving into this whole thing trying to find, all these different stamps and stuff to pull. But I love it. I love your whole collection. That's amazing. And I think people get inspired by that too. They also
Oh,
probably,
thanks.
if you're a newbie, they might get scared. Like, oh my gosh, is that where I'm going? And I will warn you, hold on, I'll go back to the regular screen. Yes, if you are going to be a card maker, yes. So just a warning, because when I first started, I was like, oh no, I'm going to have like 5 or 6 stamp sets and maybe a pack of paper. I wasn't anticipating that I was going to buy like 500 Tombow, glue things, have totes of stuff, go whenever I go to the big box stores, every time I find a set of 12 by 12 paper, even though I don't use a whole lot of that anymore, I'm like, I need the whole thing. And my husband's like, for what? And I'm like, I don't know, but one day. And so then he called me
Exactly.
out, and he's like, back in March when all this happened, he's like, oh, this is the time when all that paper is going to go to use, right? And I'm like, yes. Nope. In fact, I found myself buying more during this time. I found myself, sorting through it and going, oh, I need this kind of paper to go with that now.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. So I told myself that. So I probably also need a D-stash. Maybe one of these days I'll have to do like a D-stash live or something,
That would be
because
fun.
I have a lot that I could probably share that, but don't feel like if you watch this and you turned in right now and went, oh my gosh, Kathy has all this stuff. Don't think that that's where you have to start. It's small. Find stuff. Other guests on the show have also suggested buy what you need for the cards that you're currently making, and eventually the storage of all the other will just come with it. But yeah, so don't think you have to do it all in one sitting, because you don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you need paper, you need ink, you need a stamp, scissors, maybe a trimmer or something. It is pretty basic.
Do you still have a lot of your old Stampin' Up from when you first started?
I actually gave away a bunch of those. I sold some, but I still have some of mine. I still have the wood ones.
I do
Some
too.
of my favorite wood ones. I loved the sketches that they used to
Mm-hmm.
do. And they're beautiful. So yeah, I still have a few of my favorites. I haven't used any of them in a long time, but that's where the
Now all of a
collecting
sudden,
comes into play.
you're like, wait a minute, I might go pull those out. I do. I still have a lot of red rubber. And my company, we actually still make red rubber because we get a lot of requests for those for wedding invitation. I make a lot of wedding invitations, which is fun. Where they'll design up, we'll work with them and actually design the graphic for them. And I've seen some of the most beautiful cards, and they're big. Like we make 5x7, and these people like I don't know.
Wow.
Like I that's just not my deal. But I'm not very good at that. But the big 5x7s. But I've seen cards where they're, old school, like when you were in school. Remember when you used to carve out like the linoleum or whatever that was, and you'd make your own stamps.
Oh
And I've
yeah.
seen these people just do the roller, and and their cards are gorgeous, and they have handmade beautiful wedding cards. So everybody's got their
Wow.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
whatever you find that you really love doing.
Storage wise though, rubber stamps, the red rubber is hard. That's just hard to find that space once you get
Yeah,
moving.
that is very true. That's very true. I used to even put all of my stamps in like those clear DVD
Mm.
cases, and found that got really thick. So I went to folders, the clear envelopes, I don't know, a couple years ago. And I'm still working through trying to label everything.
Me too. That's so funny. I did a video where I was like, I'm going to show you how I'm going to clean my room, and I got like halfway through it, and I'm still working through it because there was like all of a sudden I'll find stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know I had that set too. Okay, I've got to go print out. So then I'll print out a whole bunch of labels, get it all organized, and then my kids will say, let's go do something, and I'm like, yeah, I'll come back to this tonight.
Yeah.
like 2 years later, I'm still finding stuff that I'm organizing, and it's better. Do you find that it's better to have it all organized in those clear folders than it is to leave it as its original? Like, have you been more successful with pulling them back out? Or do you find once they're there, you're kind of like, now they're beautiful. I don't want to mess with it.
No, I mean, until I use it, I leave it intact until I'm ready to use it. It also shows me how many stamps I haven't used yet. but but then I'll go ahead and, sometimes I'll just keep them in the plastic. It just depends. Um, Depends on the stamp set, but I do like keeping them in the folders. They're much easier to find and they don't take up nearly as much space. And I can keep, the coordinating dies with them. They stay together, and that just makes things really, really much, much better. I'm not very good on my standalone dies, organizing those as well. I mean, they're organized, but I haven't really found a system I like to use yet. I don't, if I were going to try to do a total reorg and use all magnets, like magnetic sheets, I've got like
Mm-hmm.
little strips that I use, and I'll grab one. I've just made up my own. I just make
Oh, I like that.
Can't even talk. Magnetic strips. But anyway, that would cost me a fortune because magnets are so expensive. So I'm still working on that one. I just like to find things quickly. I don't like to spend my time, because once I have to start searching for something, my mojo goes right out the window.
Yeah, well, I have 2 little kids, like we've talked about, and it's one of those for me that I only have like a certain amount of time. And so for me, like, I've tried to organize myself so when I get up there, I can just go right to work and start designing and be creative, because otherwise I never know when they're going to run up or mom, and next thing I know, I'm like, oh shoot, now what was I thinking I was going to do, So
Exactly.
I definitely know that one. I didn't even realize it, but we are over an hour. Do you have a few more minutes to?
Sure.
Yeah, I all of a sudden I looked at the clock and I'm like, oh my goodness, that time goes fast. So I'll ask you 2 more questions, although I could probably talk to you for the rest of the day, but that would be a very long interview. And then, yeah. Have you ever used digital stamps before?
I have used digital stamps before. Sometimes on the design teams, especially the coffee lovers design team, it's much easier for, especially if a company has them, to send us digital images to use as opposed to sending us a full stamp set. So I have used those. I do enjoy them, and I have, my little group of ones that that I've collected over the years. Um, I haven't been very successful. I will be honest with everybody. I haven't been very successful at getting it to print out and dried enough so when I color it, it doesn't smear. I'm getting better. I've learned that if I know I'm going to do one, to just let it sit overnight, and then it works fine.
Yeah.
Make sure
Well,
I print it on good paper and print out enough of them, and then just let it sit overnight so the ink doesn't, the ink dries.
no, and that's a good tip too. I mean, I've for a while I do a bunch of digis as well, and we've also sent stuff to like Kinko's to have that done because their ink is different, so it sets faster and dries faster. So I've suggested that as well. It's just another alternative. But you're right. If you leave it overnight, I seem to get better. Although my Copics sometimes, they still sometimes will find a way to make that ink bleed all over the place no matter what I do.
Yeah, especially if you've got an extra juicy one, intense, or if you're doing a lot of blending, because you're going over it a few different times.
Yeah, I have an Oki printer. So we call them Okie dokies because they're not great. They're not bad. They're okie dokie. But my poor little Oki, he does a good job, but there are times when I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the paper's having a bad day or what, but I'll blend it and I'm like, oh, look, instant gray shadows. Now I don't have to worry about those because they'll just bleed all over the place. And I'm like, all right, well, luck of the draw, I suppose.
No,
Kathy, you have. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Kathy, you have been awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show with me today. I think guests are going to be very inspired. I love that you shared your room. My last question for you. where do you see yourself going forward? I always ask this at the end of every show, just because, it's so much fun to kind of hear where we've been, where we came from. But now, where are you going? What's your goal? What are your things that you have coming up? I know you have a bunch of design team stuff, but kind of what are you looking forward to, a couple months from now and beyond?
Oh gosh, I always hated those questions in interviews too. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Hmm.
Um, seriously, I just want to keep getting better, and or maybe better is not the right word. I want to try to expand more of what I'm doing and learn more. Being on the design teams, I kind of had to learn a little bit about photography, and I really would love to, focus a little bit on doing some better staging of my photos. And it's really skills and techniques, things like that. um, I don't know. Maybe when I retire, I can add some more design teams, but I'd love to guest design for more people. I
Gosh,
really do. I really,
do you
I
got your
really
bulletin
think
board ready to go with all your
I
list of your
enjoy
people?
using that. I hope the day comes when, you cannot, you don't have to be wearing a mask when you're around a lot of people, because I know that there's a lot of folks that are really looking forward to, getting back into classes and learning. And I do enjoy that. And who knows, you gave me some ideas. Maybe I'll do some videos. Maybe I'll work
You
on
should.
that.
I
That
mean, you
might be
were a
fun.
trainer for so long. I mean, let's call it my real job, right? Or my other job. That's what I've done for years. And so people said, well, you like to talk. You like to, interview people and ask them questions and find out what makes them go. And it sort of all just evolved. And I thought, behind the card would never work. And we're already 7 shows in. And I'm so inspired by, your story and every story that I've heard over the past couple of weeks. And if it's something that's even slightly something you're interested in, start small, and I love the idea that you're interested in learning more photography. Why not? This is a perfect time to practice that and get comfortable. So, yeah.
Try something new. Always trying something new. So, but thank you so much for having me. I was
Oh,
really honored that you asked, and I hope everyone enjoyed my little sharing. So,
well, and you know what? I told you, your Instagram, it's where I find everybody. I find it and I go, I want to make a card like that. And then all of a sudden, if I find myself doing that more than 3 times, I'm like, I got to ask these people because I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know, how they got started, because this community is such a great one, and I'm sure you can share that same thought that this community is such a great group of people, and they're inspiring, and they're not, oh, what's the right word? I don't know what the right word is. They're not like, oh, don't do that because I did it. You know what I mean? They're so compassionate and like, sure, try what I did. Come on, I'll teach you how to do it. And I think that's part of what, has reinvigorated my passion for it. So,
it is a warm and fuzzy group for the most part.
well, I mean, you're always going to have, whatever, but it definitely, I feel I have not had a whole lot of negative people. I think that, obviously YouTube is a whole nother monster, right? Like we talked about. But, this group really is, for the most part, very very open, very warm, very welcoming. And, not everybody's going to love what we do, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you're inspired by my cards one day, and then the next day you're like, oh, Jess, what is that card? And maybe you're not. So that's okay. Well, I definitely know that I will be sending some stuff your way because I want to see what you can create. I think you've done a Brentwood, haven't you? I thought you did. I think I've seen your name on
I think I did. I
for the
think,
coffee ones. I've seen. I
yeah,
think that you've
yeah,
done those.
yeah. I
So
think I did.
I'll have to send you some more because I want to see what you can do. Plus, I know that you can't turn down a guest spot.
Oh, I would love it.
So so
I
I
can't say
love that. That's what you said right away, right? That you love the guest spot. You know what? Guest spots, honestly, when somebody's first starting out, I think they're great. You know, why not? Because then you
they,
can kind of mix and match, and then you get some product and kind of find what your passion is. So,
yep,
yeah.
I think so too. Try it all. Just try it. Just
That's
give it a
right.
try.
Well, Kathy, I thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take you back off the screen in just a moment, but don't leave because I do want to thank you before we're done. But formally, thank you so much for being here. And I hope that, you guys are inspired by what she's doing. And Kathy, I'll have you hold for just 1 second and I'm going to go ahead and close it all down. Okay. So if I could have you hold on 1 sec.
Yep.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was episode number 7, if you can believe it. For 7 straight weeks, we have done Behind the Card. Kathy is amazing, and obviously you can tell she is such a wonderful person to talk to. Go and subscribe to her Instagram. I'll toss that up real quick. Go ahead and take a look, follow her. Maybe we inspired her to start doing Instagram stories. Baby steps. Maybe she'll teach us some new stuff. Obviously, she used to do that. If you need some inspiration, go and check out her Pinterest. There's a ton. We scrolled through it earlier. It just keeps going. There is more that we didn't even show. So go and follow that. And then also go ahead and take a look at her blog. It's so much fun to see the progression of everything that people have done. Go and check out her blog. And know that she's going to be working pretty hard behind the scenes to get the new up-and-coming Coffee Lovers. I think it's Coffee Lovers Day. I'm not sure exactly. But I know the Coffee Lovers Blog Hop, there's usually a fall-winter one that comes along with it. So she'll be working pretty hard behind the scenes to make that happen. So make sure you guys go and check that out as well. And again, my name is Jessica Lynn Mold. I am the owner, artist, pretty much all of the above for JessicaLynnOriginal.com. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe down below. I'd love to have you join us every week Behind the Card. We are currently almost through scheduling all of our guests for season 1. Over Christmas time, we might take a little bit of a break, and then we'll bring it back for season 2 in the spring. But if you're interested in being part of the show, down below, there is a link. You can go out to my Google form, fill it out, and then I will follow up with you and get you all set to be a guest on our show. Kathy, thank you again for being here. I appreciate it. Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget, comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.